Hey everyone, before we get started, I got some really big news here that's not good. The governor of California approved, and it was filed with the secretary both the same day on June 30th, a new bill that took effect on July 1st. The bill states, this bill would prohibit a firearm industry member as defined from advertising or marketing any firearm-related product as defined in a manner that is designed, intended, or reasonably appears attractive to minors. Now, this bill goes on, okay? It's imposing $25,000 fines. They go as far as to talk about T-shirts, hats, coaching, instruction. This is for minors in the state of California. Now, I suggest we're going to copy the link to this bill in the podcast description. You can go down and click on it, read it for yourself, interpret it as you will. If you're a member of the industry, I would contact an attorney and let them advise you on what to do on this. In the short-term interim, I have spoken with Michael Hampton of the NSCA. He did inform me that they will be prohibiting any kind of literature, both digitally and print, going to a minor in the state of California from here on out until this is resolved. I also spoke with John Comerford of the NRA. They are filing suit, and they're going to seek out an injunction. But until that time, use caution. Read the bill for yourself. Interpret it as you will. If you have anything whatsoever to do with a minor and shooting in the state of California, just be cautious. Protect yourself. Make sure what you're doing, you're not going to get in trouble. As a podcast, we are still going to continue to have youth shooters on. Unfortunately, we will not be able to have anybody on from the state of California, again, until this is resolved, and we will not be advertising youth shooting on any California page. So, in the meantime, just like I said, do what you will with the information, read it for yourself, interpret it as you will, and do what you need to do. Moving forward, hey, voting, contacting your state senators, congressmen, representatives, and voicing your opinions, maybe we can keep this stuff from happening in other states. That's it for now. On to the show.
Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast, energized by KLMO Gameboy US, with your hosts, Jason Rambo and Sean Alley. Coming in hot with the 411 on all things sporting clays. Your go-to source for information, education, and entertainment, from the new shooter to the seasoned competitor.
Oh, I'm a junkie, man.
I want to play with the buttons.
He just likes to throw people under the bus. If you're not used to that yet. That's part of the show.
Does your brain hear what your mouth is saying?
Hey, I'm going to call Dave when the podcast is over and ask him what half the words are.
Let's rapid fire. Let's do the hot seat. Let's get her done.
Often imitated, but never duplicated. And now, it's showtime!
Woo! Yeah, it's showtime, mate. Jason Rambo.
Gee, Christmas.
Let's do it.
No more Red Bull for you.
Oh, man, I got 2 more left. Hold on.
What's up, my large mammal friend?
Just, rocking like docking.
Yes. We've got another exciting week with another new guest, Mr. Brett Seibert.
Yeah. Everybody talks about the big targets that they throw at
Northbrook.
Yes. And, I mean, we've seen big targets. We haven't been in Northbrook.
I don't think Northbrook throws quite what we saw at the
U.S. Open. Yeah.
I don't think people from NASA have seen what they threw at the U.S.
Maybe,
Open.
but we're going to find out.
Yeah. So let's talk about that just for a second here before we get Brett on the phone. Clubs, targets, rising costs, planning shoots. I mean, it's all a topic of discussion, it seems like, around the club nowadays.
Well, I mean, it's just hand in hand with what the economy is doing right now. I mean, everybody is feeling the pinch of high-priced fuel, which is in turn making all of the goods that we typically buy much more expensive to purchase.
Yeah.
So shells are more expensive. In turn, the clay birds are more expensive. Travel's more expensive. Hotel's more expensive. The food that you eat when you go out is more expensive. I mean, it's costing more for everybody in the country to do their day-to-day, not to mention their hobbies.
Well, and we'll ask Brett his opinion here in a minute, being as somebody that, general manager of a club.
Yeah.
But I think, I've seen it more and more is people are, the diehard shooter is a diehard shooter, right? They're going to go to the club no matter what it costs. But I think they're starting to back off a little bit of how much participation, even though what I'm getting at is, so let's say they go to the tournament, but they're not signing up for every single side game or sub-gauge event. Or,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest realization. It's like, look, the big guys, the top names in the game, they're going to keep doing what they're doing because that's what they do.
Right.
But everybody else who does this, like me and you, weekend warriors, this is a hobby for us. You got to start kind of looking at things and saying, well, I got X amount of dollars in the budget to do this sport.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you got to make some decisions.
Yeah, and I think it's been talked about way too much as far as the U.S. Open targets. But, I think when people go, they're looking for more bang for their buck, if you will, because, like you said, all these rising costs. So people want to go and have fun and not feel – they want to feel challenged, not beat up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, let's face it. Look, the U.S. Open is the U.S. Open.
It's the U.S. Open.
So it's got to be what it's got to be. And
Rick had every right to do what he did. And
yeah, absolutely. And
we've talked about it before. He threw a great event, but it's his course. He can do what he wants. But I think for the regular events locally that aren't a U.S. Open, clubs have to be careful.
Yeah, got to keep it friendly, got to keep it fun because you want people to come back.
Sure.
So keep that in mind. You don't have to set targets like the U.S. Open. Again, it's the U.S. Open, and that it's totally fine to do that there. But again, local tournaments, make sure it's fun. You want people coming back.
Doesn't have to be charity.
No, it doesn't have to be charity, but it needs to be challenging, but still enjoyable.
So you and I recently shot a tournament.
Yes, we did.
And how'd you do?
I
know how you did, but tell everybody else how you did.
I had a really good day on Sunday. I haven't been shooting much. Work's been crazy busy. Haven't had time to practice for months. And it showed on Saturday. I went out there and shot the Super Sporting and the main. Didn't do real great. But Sunday, things started kind of clicking on the main. And I had a really good run. And I let it get in my head in the last two stations. Dropped 6 birds. And, yeah, I was sitting on a 92. Dropped 6 birds and wound up with an 86. And if I would have kept my 92, it would have been HOA.
Yeah.
And I know you had a great weekend. You've shot better than you have in months.
Yeah, and, it's been well talked about. I've been shooting extremely poorly. And I felt like this weekend was a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. I won on Sunday. I won AA. And then on Saturday, I think I took a third in AA. But look, it's, we're not talking about doing that at the Nationals, but like I said, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and you looked a lot better doing it, too. You looked a lot more relaxed.
And I can tell you right now, when this all comes out, when, if I do manage to put this together and turn myself back around, I'm going to share with everybody. I don't mean to tease everybody, but I need to prove to myself that this is going to work, what I'm doing. And then I'll be more than happy to share it with everybody. But, back to you, Sean, just so everybody knows, this guy was on fire. I mean, you started off well, and you through the middle, man, you were just sweeping station after station after station. And I think you put too much pressure on yourself.
I did. We rounded the corner, and we had station 1 and 2 to finish up, and I just started thinking too much about it, got a little too tight, a little too analytical, and it bit me in the butt.
Yeah.
So, and again, I look at it as a learning experience. I haven't shot that well all this year. Again, limited time to practice, been busy with work, and I'm not making excuses, but it is what it is.
So
and
can I share that with everybody real quick?
Sure.
Station 1.
Yep.
Learning experience, right? For both of us.
Absolutely.
And let's, we want to help people. So this station, when you were standing in the box, Sean, help me out here. Both traps were off to your left. So if you're facing 12 o'clock, they were at 9 o'clock.
Yep. And I was first shooter.
And you were first shooter. And true pair, I'm going to say they were deep quartering true Shondells.
Yeah, with a little bit of belly. They weren't true. I don't know if they were true Shondells. They were like half Shondells. They were about half belly, 3/4 belly.
Yeah.
Because they were curling away and they kind of came back into the woods.
Right. And so the front target was low and fast. The second target was a little bit higher and a little bit slower.
Yes.
True pair.
True pair.
And you went front target, back target.
Yep. And waxed the first pair, then went lost dead, then went lost.
Right.
Yep.
And everybody else in our squad pretty much did the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I stepped in the box. Now, for me, a natural rotation is not to go to the front, to the back, to the front. So what I mean by that is, you connect with that first bird and you're swinging left to right and you break that first bird. Now you're going to come back to the left, connect with the second bird, swing to the right and break it. That's not a natural movement to me. So the natural movement to me was to start in the back, swing left to right, break the first bird, keep your momentum going, go to the second bird, right? Connect with it and break it. One smooth, fluid movement. And it worked.
Yep.
And I
wish I would have shot it the way you did, because after I saw you shoot it, it's like, I should have probably done that. Now, honestly, I could have broke it either way.
Yeah.
But the point of it was the first trap was about 20 feet, 30 feet in front of the other one. Mm-hmm. So it was coming out first and faster, and it basically got to the woods quicker. And for some reason, I just didn't think I had the time to go back to front.
But that's where the target setter did his job.
Absolutely.
If creating anxiety in your mind, thinking, oh my God, I got to get that first bird first, or that front bird first.
But honestly, it wasn't that I wasn't able to hit the targets. It was I was putting too much pressure on my mind and thinking about my score.
But we're talking about technique. So what I'm asking you.
No, you're absolutely correct. The way you did it was the right way to do it.
I ran the station.
You ran the station, and there was no doubt that coming from the back to front was better. And typically, I do that. However, again, I didn't get to see the squad shoot in front of me. We got up there, they just packed up and left or something. And I was the first guy on the station, so I watched it. And it seemed like I had plenty of time to go from the front and just kind of do a collapsing lead on the second bird. And again, the first pair worked out fine. Second pair dropped one. And then third pair, I think I got frustrated and just dropped both birds because I was frustrated.
Yeah, well, that's part of being the first shooter.
It's a mental thing. Thing. But then I had to struggle on the last target because I think I was messed up from that station. And there we go. It wound up with an 86 instead of a 92. So there you go.
You had firsthand experience, lesson learned, and we're sharing it with our listeners.
That's right. Yep. And that's the thing of it is you learn more from your mistakes than you do from your successes.
There you go. Well, hey, speaking of success, Mr. Seibert's had a lot of success running Northbrook, so let's get him on the phone. I want to hear what he has to say about Northbrook.
Sounds good. All right, joining us on the phone right now, Brett Seibert, General Manager at Northbrook. Brett, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing great. Jason's sitting across from me.
Hey, Brett.
So,
hello.
Let's start off with the easy one. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you and Northbrook became to be a thing.
Well, I just started shooting around 1999. I started shooting with some friends, and they brought me to Northbrook. And, I loved the place and joined it and started shooting a lot, started traveling a little bit, little trips to Wisconsin and then a little farther to Minnesota, and then a little farther, as you guys know how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I volunteered at the club and was the 5-stand chairman for a while, and then the Sporting Clays chairman. And then I got on the board and ended up being vice president for a couple of terms. And we started making a lot of improvements. We had a good set of a really great group of volunteers, and we did a lot of work and started expanding the place and found property that we had that nobody'd ever been to, and clearing some areas and making some new courses. And the more we did, the more shooters we got, the more members we got, the more targets we threw. And then around 2012, our manager's job became open, and we were looking around and couldn't find the right person. And I had a concrete construction business for many, many years. And my oldest son was old enough to start running that. So I told him I would take it temporarily. And that was 11 years ago, temporarily.
Temporarily, I got you. Well, tell us a little bit about Northbrook. So you said you went and you expanded into the property. How big is the property there at Northbrook for those that have never been?
We're about 700 acres now. We bought another 100 acres in 2013. So we were 600. And it was interesting because we had one little Sporting Clays course and 11 trap and skeet fields, and no one had ever been anywhere else on the property. And we'd go out and we'd cut a little brush, and we'd see a big 300-year-old oak tree there, and we'd clean out to that tree, and then we'd see one behind it, and we found, kind of felt like we were Lewis and Clark, found another couple hundred acres to shoot on.
Cool. Very cool. So what all do you offer there now that everything's up and running? I mean, tell us all about the different opportunities and courses that you have there now.
Well, we have 11 skeet fields, and about 6 of those are combo with trap fields. We only really run about 3 of the trap fields at a time. They're just because there's not demand for it just right in this local area. Mm-hmm. We have what we call our blue course is super easy, real elementary, great beginner course. We have a white course, which goes back in the woods. It's actually the original course, and that's kind of just a classic throwback sporting clays hunter type course, kind of light to medium difficulty. And then we have our red course, and they're all 13 or 14 station course. So we have our red course, which is our competition course. We also run a green course for competitions, which is relatively soft, and we'll run a 100 bird sporting clays event on that with our monthly shoots. Our monthly shoots that we have 2 of in the summer. So we'll do a red course and a green course. We've always got 2 parcours of FITASC up. We've got a 6-bird grid set up with 6 machines with marked distances and angles. So there's 9 shooting positions and 6 traps. So you'll know exactly how far away you are from the targets and the angle and everything, which makes for some great practice.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and then we have, right now we even have a 10-station super sporting course up. So
cool.
We've usually got 4 courses or 5 courses going, and a couple, 2 to 4 FITASC parcours and the training grid. So there's 180 machines out there throwing targets all the time.
Wow, that's a lot. So this upcoming month, you're going to be holding the North Central Regional. What can people expect at Northbrook that sets you guys apart from other regionals?
I think it's in the Midwest. We've got a little bit of terrain. We've got some real interesting, pretty courses. They're all different from each other. There's one, our red course is our berm course, and it's got some man-made berms and hills and valleys, and you can shoot a lot of targets beneath your feet. You can't, get targets coming from behind another berm that you're not going to see the traps. When we set targets here, we try to hide the traps the best we can behind a tree, behind the tall grass, and let you concentrate on the targets instead of the traps. We've got another course that just kind of runs out through nice oak savanna, and another one that runs down a creek. So I think all of our courses have a real individual look. You're going to be in a pretty spot, and you're going to be shooting fair targets that they're definitely going to challenge you without beating you over the head, I think.
Yeah. Well, that leads into my next question is, targets have become a really hot topic after the U.S. Open. And Northbrook is traditionally known for throwing some big targets, but you've kind of got a different outlook on setting targets. Can you elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Well, I just personally, I think, the target difficulty has been a hot topic for as long as I've been shooting, and it kind of swings. To me, it kind of swings with a pendulum.
Yeah.
And it gets too hard and then it gets too soft, and somewhere in the middle, we don't throw. I don't throw at a competition. I'm not going to throw any gimmies. I'm not going to hang 2 birds in front of you just to get you 8 targets on your scorecard.
Right.
But if you're not concerned with, the 80-year-old shooting and new kids and new women shooters and new men shooters, if you're not concerned with them having a good time at your event, also, your business is going to suffer.
Agreed.
And you still have to challenge I was never one to worry about what how high the scores were. I didn't want to put a number on anything and say C class should shoot this and double A should shoot this, but they have to have a good time. So, don't get them a 0, if you can help it. And you still have to challenge the top guys. And we do, I think we do. And no one's ever accused us of throwing a soft course.
Gotcha. Now, were you able to make it to the U.S. Open this year?
I did, yeah.
Okay. What'd you think about the targets there?
I think that Rick Hemingway, he knows as much about this game as anybody, and he knows his market, I think. And I think he threw exactly what he wanted to. And he's had a philosophy. He wanted it to be the most challenging shoot of the year. And it definitely was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if everybody had as good a time as, maybe the top 10 guys did, but
it was work. It was definitely work.
Yeah. I hadn't practiced, and I shot it, and I shot poorly. I shot about as well as I had a right to, for not shooting all year. And it was tough. They were tough targets. They were big, they were fast. And, there was a lot of them I loved shooting.
Well, all right. So let's compare that now to what you typically are going to shoot or set for your regional. Where do you kind of fall in the mix between the U.S. Open and what you're going to be presenting to most shooters?
I would guess that I'd be looking for like 75% of that. I think there would probably be fewer separator stations, if you want to call them that, with, a true pair of 50 yard targets. I think you need 4 of those on a 14 station course, maybe 5, not a whole lot more than that.
Okay.
So I think, you don't have to, a lot of the stations, you can have a big bird on it. You can have a hard bird on it, but the second bird doesn't have to be right behind it.
Yeah.
So give, a little give and take. And I always think about a couple people that I felt bad previously in past years when I've set some courses that, watching some friends of mine shoot and some people that I know came a long way, and watching them just flounder. And you have to keep them in mind while you're setting, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
Unless you want to have 100-person shoot, if we're going to have 600, 700 or 1,200 people at a tournament, then you've got to make, let's try and make 3/4 of them happy.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of numbers are you looking at for this year so far?
We've got a good sign up for this year. The North Central Regionals hasn't historically been a huge one, but we're well over 600 right now. So, and it's climbing. It's actually surprised me this past month, because usually you're about where you're going to get, but we've gotten quite a few new entries the past couple of weeks. So I won't be surprised if we end up, in the high 6s.
Okay.
Well, Brett, a good friend of the show, Eric Roden, and also sponsor the show, Bear Pelt, he was telling me he's a member out there at Northbrook, and if I understood this correctly, you got a little different way of running your regular tournaments at Northbrook between the different courses and the amount of targets shot. Can you tell me what that's all about? Because it sounded really interesting.
We started with a green course probably 3 or 4 years ago. 4 years ago, and we just thought, and we did it. We do a green FITASC event too. So our events used to be just our red course, 100 bird, very challenging targets, 50 bird, very challenging FITASC, and maybe a 5 stand or maybe a 50 bird super sporting or something. So we added in the green, and we kind of just called it Intro to Sporting Tournaments, and we added in a green FITASC, which are 50 birds that you better hit 48 of, and our feeling was that people were intimidated. They've already come to a gun club. They don't want to go over to the registration table if they're new. And we thought we would just, literally grab them by the hand and take them over there and show them how to sign up. And we had some volunteers and our board members, take them out and take them to the green course, let them shoot, a 65 or a 75 at some targets, at some simple targets. And our membership took off. Our shoots took off. We had, I think the first year we put 300 people, new NSCA members into G class.
Awesome.
The first year, and I think 200 the second year. It was the one shoot in the country that G class was by far bigger than master class.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And they just, we've kept doing them. And the red course guys go shoot the green course because they want to go shoot it, see if they can shoot a 98 or a 99. I think we've had one or two 100s in 3 or 4 years. So, they're getting more registered targets. They're working on their concentration and working on their game.
That's
So
very
it's,
cool.
I mean, it's win-win, and everybody's liked it. And our tournaments our monthly tournaments are over 2 days. They're self-scored. There's no money back to class. So, so we can trust everyone. There's some options. And frankly, around here, people don't play the options very much anyway. So a 200 person monthly shoot, I might send out $200 worth of option checks.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah, so they're out to have fun and get better. And I think our shooters have gotten a lot better.
So you got me curious. Obviously, your idea with introducing new shooters to a tournament has been perceived really well, but do you see, though, out of, let's just say, for example, there's 300 people that signed up for D class, what would you say the returning number is? Is it pretty strong?
It's about 40%.
That's not bad.
Pretty good.
That's not bad.
And I mean, that's the following year.
Yeah.
So there's 40% of them are signing up and with a paid membership the following year. It's easy to get them to take the free membership at CLM, but if they renew, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
absolutely.
Well, going back to the regional event, so for those of us who haven't been there, what kind of amenities are there? I mean, I imagine that do you allow camping there? People with campers and stuff, are they allowed to stay on the grounds? Or
Yeah, we have 20 RV spots or so, and they'll fill up. We'll have gunsmiths, of course. We've got a ton of ammo. We've laid away a ton of ammo and been working on that real hard the past couple of years. So we have a barn full of Winchester, RC, a little bit of Fiocchi. I think people are impressed with the grooming of the grounds. We take real good care of it. The grass is going to be cut. The bugs are going to be sprayed. They're going to have great food. The clubhouse is very nice. The air conditioning works, stuff like that. That's big, and got a nice outdoor pavilion and plenty of tents and plenty of activities. And we have a group of members that works hard on volunteering to do a lot of the extras.
And locally around the facilities, what's the closest town? Like, where are people going to grab a hotel and maybe go out and get something to eat outside of the course?
They're gonna probably stay in Libertyville or Grays Lake or Mundelein are probably the three closest towns. Mm-hmm. We're less than an hour from downtown Chicago. We're 40 minutes from O'Hare, so if they're flying in, they're probably closest they're going to be to any big club to a major airport. We're an hour from Milwaukee Airport, so the location's really ideal, and it's you're out of the city, you're well out of the city, and it's a semi-rural kind of area with some nice towns close by with great restaurants and plenty of nice hotels. So,
gotcha.
I want to shift gears here for just a second, Brett, if I could. Am I correct in saying this, that you were kind of instrumental in helping Mark Baltazar with American Field Sporting? Is that correct?
Yeah, we worked on that. I worked on that with Mark for quite a while. We worked on it for a couple of years and went through all the rules and did some tests and spent a lot of time on the phone and a couple cocktails here and there. It was a lot of fun, and Mark's a brilliant guy and wanted to, we both wanted to come up with something that was a little faster and a little more fun than some of the experiences we'd had, and we knew what people were having problems with and what they weren't liking about some of the games.
Well, anybody that listens to the show knows that I'm a huge fan of it. It's been out for a couple of years now. What's your outlook on it now? I mean, what do you think? Is it headed in the right direction? Is it growing at a rate you think it should be, or are we a little behind, or what's your take on it?
I think it absolutely took off way faster and was way more successful than I thought it would be. People just liked it, and they went for it. And it wasn't anti anything. It was more of a, let's just look at things like you'd look at your own club and say, geez, this is kind of dumb. Why do we do this? Why don't we make it easier for the people that we want to come shoot?
Yeah.
And the game, a lot of what we talked about was, younger shooters and, in the shooting game, maybe, kids like 40-year-olds,
yeah.
and younger, not wanting to spend 9 hours or 11 hours at the gun club to shoot, a couple hundred targets. So how do we get them here? people are busier, kids are busier. How do we get them to come and scoot, and still have a good time without it being a week-long or day-long commitment?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, along those lines, all right, so let's talk a little bit about tournaments, because I think you kind of touched on a few things that have been hot topics lately. So, for instance, the U.S. Open, there was a lot of comments about the targets, and they were definitely tough and probably discouraging for lower class and newer shooters, right? I mean, let's just be fair. So, with that said, with the level of talent that we've got in our sport at this point in the game, are we on track to kind of keep getting bigger, better, crazier targets? Is that what's going to take to keep the sport moving forward, or do we need to kind of maybe pump the brakes and think about the new people coming in and making it not so daunting or disconcerting for them to go to a tournament and feel like they just got beat up?
Well, I think you can do both. I think you can separate some of the events. I don't know that we've talked a lot of times about having say it, just for instance, at nationals, if everybody shot 3 days instead of 4, and the top 60 guys, you went and set a course for them for their last 75 birds, and you wouldn't have to please everyone with that course. Maybe you go set another course of 75 birds. It's a little more moderate for the way they split the 5-stand at nationals with, A class and down and master and double A. So you let them shoot their targets for, A class and down, go shoot a 75 bird course, and then go throw whatever you want to separate the top 50 guys.
Gotcha. Well, all right. So another thing, what's your take on how tournaments overall are going in the U.S.? I mean, any opinions on how we can make them better or what things need to be done to improve it? I mean, like you said, it does take time to get through all the events with the cost of fuel going up and travel going up and hotels going up, obviously, and not to mention ammo. Let's not leave that out of the equation. I mean, do clubs need to be more, I guess, sensitive to people and their schedules and their money in order to be able to kind of get them in, get them out, make them feel like they did something without trying to drag it out for too long? Or
I think exactly. I mean, without doing what do they call it, shrinkflation, where you make the potato chip bag smaller,
right,
and charge the same. But I've been thinking for a long time about what's magical about 100 birds. Why not 75? I've thought that if skeet has its challenges, if it's why don't they shoot 75 birds instead of 100? They never have enough fields, to shoot. They never have enough fields. They can't get enough people, or have too many people for a smaller club to have a tournament. It's going to be the same guys in their shoot off. So you might have one extra guy in a shoot off that ran a 75 instead of running 100, and I think we could help our shooters out a little bit that way in sporting as well. Do a 77 bird super sporting instead of 100. It works out good with the numbers. You don't end up throwing extra birds. You could throw 11 7-bird stations and ignore the 100-bird gospel just because shells come in a 25 count box.
Well, yeah, because I mean, obviously the big difference, like me and Jason noticed. We've shot Ohio State, we've shot regionals, we went to the nationals last year, and we've shot some of the bigger shoots. The neat thing about going to the U.S. Open at Rick's place was the amount of property they have. I mean, they basically have a limitless amount of land, so they can. I mean, they set up 3 rotations. 16 stations for the main on each one, and a lot of times you only got 2 pair per station. So they really stretched it out. They really made that happen. But I guess for smaller clubs that don't have the acreage or the size to do that
right.
kind of a course, I mean, obviously they're at a disadvantage to try to throw a big main like that in that regards, the way Rick did it this year.
Sure.
I mean, so what does a smaller club have to do to be able to draw enough people to keep these tournaments going and to keep them profitable?
It's tougher when the courses get compact and stuff, and it does give the event a whole different feel. You end up with a bunch of in and out birds and trap birds and incomers and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of clubs, we have a lot of really good clubs that aren't huge, and they do a great job of that. And you don't feel that way. M&M does a great job with it. Their place is kind of tight, but you wouldn't know it by the targets. Just the way they work their property. It's all doable. You can cram a lot in a little spot if you've got the right type of spot.
What's your take, Brett, on sporting clays as a whole in the United States? We talked about targets, we talked about tournaments, but are we missing the boat on something, or do you think we're okay?
I think we're treading water, to be honest with you. There's the slightest of gains every year, and I think the one thing that we're missing out on is the recreational shooter. Everybody throws around numbers that the NSSF comes up with, with their polls that 10, or I've heard different numbers, 10 million or 20 million different people shot a clay target last year, and we have 25,000 members in the NSCA, and a couple thousand of them shoot, more than 1,000 targets a year.
Yeah.
So I think, and I don't know if that's something the association can do. Their resources are pretty limited, but I think just reaching out to casual shooters and barnyard shooters or whatever, hunters or whatever, if there's that many people, let's get them out to our gun clubs at least for 25 birds, and some sort of outreach that way, which is just going to, it's very doable. It's just a ton of work for somebody.
Right.
Do you feel like obviously, I know the answer to this, but, with the recent crunch and the economics of things, shell prices going up, gas prices going up, basically all of your expenses to go do this. And let's face it, this is a hobby for most people. This is their golf. This is their bass fishing. This is just another episode of that. Do you feel like you've noticed a small decline in people coming to your tournaments lately, or not so much?
Probably not a recognizable bump. I do kind of feel it. I think people might be shooting one event instead of two, or two events instead of three, stuff like that. And with the cost, wheeling out 10 flats of ammo like they used to do last year for $600, and now it's $1,000. It's obviously going to make a difference on people's practice and everything like that. And I think we're managing that by getting more people shooting, and more people shooting, maybe possibly a few less targets. But the guys, the guys and girls, the women that love to shoot, they're going to shoot.
Yeah.
You couldn't keep them away if you wanted to, but everybody's going to make some adjustments. It's never been a cheap hobby, and it's gotten more expensive.
Yeah, well, but everything is. If you go golfing seriously, it's not any cheaper. The clubs are expensive, the greens fees are expensive, and bass fishing. Let's talk about having to own well, I guess you don't have to own it, but I've seen so many guys that have $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 bass boat, and they're pulling that with a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 pickup truck, and then let's not talk about all the rods, reels, lures, electronics, and all that stuff. Anything you do as a hobby that's along these lines is going to cost you some money. It's just, I guess you got to pick your poison, basically.
It's just like $1,000 a pound for a bass, or $1,000 a punch for a sporting clay.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, right. Yeah, you can't eat the sporting clays though. They taste terrible.
I've seen exactly what you're talking about though. I've been noticing it at tournaments for the last few months. Is you still see the same amount of people, you still see the same people, but they're not signing up for every single side game, every single, FITASC game, sporting. Right. They're going to go there and shoot the sporting, maybe the prelim, and that's it. Or maybe they'll shoot the prelim and the FITASC, and that's it. So I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think, you asked what earlier what we're missing. We've gone whole hog over supporting the youth shooting, and that's great. And it's an easy thing to get money to do. It's an easy thing to get donations and volunteer time and everything for the youth shooting. And we've started at Northbrook and a lot of the clubs in Florida, and a lot of the other clubs have just started targeting and inviting the women to shoot. And I wish we'd have done it earlier, and I wish we'd have done it with the effort that we've put into the youth shooting, because if you can get them to shoot, everybody can shoot. If mom wants to go to the gun club, then the kids can, and dad can, and everybody can. And it's 50% of the population,
Right.
And they're having, we've had some programs here. Well, my daughter has run quite a few events called Ladies Book Club, and they come and they go out and shoot 50 birds, and we give them a little lesson and something, and then they come inside and have some food and get drunk, and they're like, when's the next one? And they join the club. They join the club that day.
Yeah.
So
I wish you wouldn't have said that.
We need to go
Brett.
after them.
I wish you wouldn't have said that. My wife edits these things. If I get her out, I could barely afford registered targets as it is, let alone for two of us.
That's the flip side.
Yeah.
Well, Brett, I'm going to have to make it out to your club sometime. My brother-in-law recently moved out to Chicago, Prospect Heights area, so I think it's maybe
he's not far.
Yeah, 45 minutes from you if I looked at that right.
Yeah, he's not far at all.
Yeah.
Send him over.
Well, I'm going to try to come out there and visit him sometime, and maybe I'll drag him over there. Do we need to call ahead and make a reservation for anything, or how does that work?
No, just come on out and give me a holler. Let me know when you're coming. I'll show you around and get you shooting.
Cool, man. I'd love to see the club because I've heard all about what great targets you throw and how nice the club is. I really want to come see it firsthand.
Well, you're more than welcome.
Well, Brett, before we let you go, like I said, the regional's coming up. Is there any other information that we may have missed if somebody wants to go ahead and make it out there to that regional?
No. The signups are on the signups are on Score Chaser. If anybody has any issues or wants to make sure they have ammo, club websites, northbrooksportsclub.org. There's an info email on there. Give us a call. Shoot us an email, and we will make it easy for you to come.
Good deal.
Awesome. I'll make sure and put your link down there in the bottom of this podcast description too. And like I said, it's on Score Chaser. I think there's still plenty of room. I was looking at it earlier. There's still plenty of room on all the events, right?
Yeah, there is. The FITASC is a little backed up because it's old style. It's backed up to Tuesday, I think, right now. But there's always, especially in FITASC, there's always some people that drop out. So, and all the other events, there's still a little bit of room in.
Okay, good deal.
Gotcha. Well, Brett, thank you so much again for taking time out of your busy day to sit down and talk with us. We're really excited to have you on here and talk about Northbrook. It's one of our bucket list events that we have to go try to check that club out soon.
The ever-growing bucket list.
The ever-growing bucket list.
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, but Northbrook's definitely got a big reputation, and we'd like to come out there and see you soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks for the opportunity, guys. It was great talking to you.
All righty. Well, you have a wonderful evening.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Brett.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, stand by for this quick segment. All right, joining us on the phone for this OtoPro segment, we've got Chip Pitfield all the way up from Canada. Chip, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing wonderfully well, thank you.
I've got Jason sitting across from me.
Hey, Chip. What part of Canada are you hailing
Jason.
from? What part of Canada are you hailing from?
Toronto, Ontario.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So you enjoy shooting sporting clays. How did you get started in this crazy game?
Oh gosh, I started about 35 years ago when I was always a waterfowler and a bird hunter, and I wanted to learn how to shoot properly. So I started shooting sporting clays. I got a little bit of instruction. I got hooked on the game completely, and for about 5 years I shot a lot until I started reproducing.
Yes, that's funny how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. And so I had a bunch of boys, and I came back to it kind of casually about 5 years ago and very seriously about 2 years ago.
Gotcha. So obviously you realize the importance of protecting your hearing, which is why I imagine you went with OtoPro for your hearing protection.
I went with OtoPro because I heard the OtoPro woman interviewed on your podcast.
Oh, well, wonderful. That's
awesome.
Glad. That's a true life testimonial right there.
Yeah.
So, which models did you wind up going with? Did you get like the Phantoms or one of her other models?
No, I got the simple ones that are towards the bottom of the line. One of them is simply just an insert with nothing, and one of them has a noise filter in it, and I can't remember what they're called.
Okay, no worries. But they appear to be working very well for you?
I'm no expert, but I can tell you they're as good as anything I've ever worn, and they are undoubtedly more comfortable.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, both of those that she offers, they're both custom fit. Is that correct, Chip?
Yes, that's correct. I had molds made up here. I sent them down here. She has a woman by the name of Jennifer working for her, who is the most efficient, accommodating, helpful woman on earth.
I can attest to that because she has been awesome for Sean and I to work with. That girl, I told Grace she needs flowers and chocolates and a raise. So
Yes, I agree with you. And I don't know whether she's 25 or 55, but she's a genius.
Yeah, that girl, and she's a hard worker too. So,
yeah, I don't doubt it.
So, okay, so you've got both. You've got the custom fit, basically earplugs, and then you have the custom fit filtered. Now that you've kind of had to run of the mill with both, which one do you prefer using?
Well, I think it's the one without the filters.
Okay.
But I'm making a distinction here that's pretty skinny, and I'm not sure that it's really well-founded.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I like them both.
Okay. Any negatives or anything like that about them so far? And how long have you had them? I was curious.
None.
None. Okay.
I probably shot with them 15 times.
Okay. So you've definitely had enough experience with them to know whether or not they're working or not, at least to that degree. So that's good. That's good.
Well, they sure feel like they're working. I'm no different now than I was when I started using them.
Gotcha.
So let me ask you this, Chip, from start to finish, tell us about the experience working with OtoPro.
I think I sent them an email, and Jennifer contacted me. And if I'm not mistaken, she might be in Mississippi, I think.
Yes.
And told me what the process would be. We discussed what I wanted. I didn't much care about hearing other people talk or anything, so I moved away from the ones at the top of the line, and I found a hearing place up here that would make the molds for me. I had the molds made. I sent them down to Jennifer by courier. I'm going to say I had them within a week back to Canada.
Wow.
I think we have a small place in Florida, and I think she might have sent one of them to Florida for me. So it was like convenient as hell. The service was unbelievable.
Well, that's good. That's awesome to hear, and I'm sure that Grace and her staff will be very happy to hear that. So if there was any of your shooting buddies out there that you pal around with, you see, and they're asking you about hearing aids, any reservations about recommending OtoPro to them?
No, I've already done so, and I have a friend who already dealt with Jennifer and was very pleased.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, Chip, thank you very much for spending a few minutes with us. We really appreciate it, and I know Dr. Grace is going to be really happy to hear your comments and your testimonial about OtoPro.
Well, thank you guys for calling me, and I very much enjoy your podcast, and thanks for giving me a shout.
Thank you very much,
Thanks, Chip. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too, guys. See ya.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, Jason, I don't know about you, but again, Northbrook's been on my bucket list for a while. I need to get out there. Now with my brother-in-law living outside of Chicago, I really just need to make it a point to pack the gun, take it with me.
You know what would help? Seriously?
What would help?
If you would just win that daggone lottery ticket we've been talking about, we can start dwindling this bucket list down a little bit.
I keep trying. I mean, you'll remember that I got some Keno tickets while we were waiting for a pizza after our tournament. And
you ain't going to do it with Keno,
I don't think I even hit one number out of the 10 numbers that I picked. So
it better be Powerball or Mega Millions for what we want to do.
Yeah, no doubt. So, but that's good, man. I mean, again, Northbrook's been on my bucket list. A lot of people talk about the big targets that they throw there. I'm going to have to definitely go firsthand and experience it myself.
Yeah. Well, Eric Roden tells us all the time, how nice it is there, and he's a regular member there.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, man, come on. It's like there's 50 other clubs. It's like, yeah, come on.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that they had this much. I mean, 700 acres, that's about the same size as the National Shooting Complex, right? About in the same ballpark, right? That's a pretty big facility.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, no doubt. So, I mean, hats off to Brett. Sounds like that since he came on board, the club's been growing in the right direction, and sounds like they got a lot of neat things to go out there and shoot. So I'm looking forward to it. Whenever I can make it happen, I'm going to make sure I get my opportunity to go out there.
So you're going to the North Central Regional next month?
No, I'm not going to be able to make that, buddy. Sorry. Work will not allow me to leave. So I'm going to the Indiana State shoot this weekend. You're traveling to Colorado this weekend. I mean, we're busy guys when it comes to the shooting circuit. So
your wife listens to these podcasts?
Yes, she does.
Okay, good. I'm going to make this official right now. I am not responsible for your decision to go to the Nationals.
Jason Rambo, I'm going to strangle you in the parking lot before you leave.
No, I am not responsible for this. I do not want to hear it.
All right, honey, when you hear this, guess what? I'm going to the Nationals. I was on the fence, but now I've decided I have to go.
No, don't you blame me.
And it's all Jason's fault. Dang it.
We're going to edit that part out.
No, we're not. Jules, leave it in.
Jules, honey, love you.
God. Well, at least we can throw each under the bus and have fun with it.
Yes. Hey, listen, I've been in trouble with your wife for 30 years. And it's just, I'm used to it by now.
Yeah, I don't think Jules gives me enough credit for as much trouble as I get you in.
She doesn't know. See, that's the difference between you and I. I don't throw you under the bus. Maybe I need to start doing that more. I need to start blaming Sean more.
Now, wait a minute. Don't make me bring up skeletons here. Don't make me dig them out. I'll dig them out.
Oh, God. Okay.
Just be
right.
good. Be politically correct. Let's be good.
Yeah, I'm not going to say nothing. So, Sean, I'm trying to think. This podcast comes out, the SCTP will have started.
Right.
And so by the time everybody's hearing it, so next week, and I say next week, I mean next week from when you're hearing this, we're going to be at SCTP running around, talking to some sponsors, talking to some youth shooters. That ought to be pretty cool.
Yep, definitely.
Looking forward to running into the Midway USA Foundation.
Yep.
Don't forget you're buying them pizza.
That's right. We are buying them pizza. The dead pair is buying them pizza.
Oh, there's a we. You know what? I did open my big mouth, didn't I?
You did. It's in recording, so you can't get away from it.
I can't get away from it. I said it. I got to do it. So.
It's a big event. It's a fun event. So
yes, absolutely. And that fundraiser shoot's always a good one.
Absolutely.
So, and then next week, what's the plan? What are we doing? Are we going to release the Sean and Jason podcast?
If we can get it polished up, it kind of went off the rails in a couple of different places. But
did you hear back from your attorney?
They're still looking into some things.
Some liability clauses?
Yeah, they're checking some things out. And apparently
right.
There's some paperwork I got to fill out and a few disclaimers.
Well, Chad ran it by his attorneys, and they said, well, they're the idiots. You're good.
Okay.
You just asked the question.
We're not responsible for what happened after they answered. So, gotcha. Well, that makes me feel so much better.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Thank you very, very much to Bear Pelt, KL Ammo, Game Board US, OtoPro Hearing Technologies, Negrini Cases, Rhino Chokes, RE Ranger, White Flyer, and Folded Wing Apparel. Thank you very much. Don't forget, use the code DEADPAIR10 at checkout, Folded Wing, to save 10%. Don't forget to get to our website, hit the swag button, or go over directly to clayshootingapparel.com. Get yourself some Dead Pair swag.
Yeah, and as we say every week, take somebody new shooting. Take somebody new to a tournament. Take them to a charity shoot. Basically, just go out and have some fun shooting a shotgun and breaking some clay birds.
Yeah, absolutely. And until next week, Mr. Alley.
We can't wait to see you all back here on the Dead Pair Podcast.